Hi there, and welcome to this video about solving simultaneous equations. So I'm going to look at an exam question here. So here's a typical question. Solve the simultaneous equations 3x plus 2y equals to 8 and 2x plus 5y equals negative 2. So first of all, a simultaneous equation is where you have two equations that have the same value for x and y that satisfies both equations. So we're looking for a value of x and a value of y that I could put into this equation to make it 8 that would also work in this equation with the same value for x and y. So let's look at how you might do that. Now, so what I'm trying to do initially is trying to get the same amount of x's or the same amount of y's. It doesn't matter which you do, but just pick on an x or pick on a y. Sometimes it's easier to choose one if you've already got one that's the same, but here we've got 3 x's as the coefficient of x there and 2 x's here, so they're different, and there's 2 y's and 5 y's. So I just need to choose which one I'm going to make. I'm going to say x. So what I now need to do is consider what do 3 and 2 go in. So we're actually looking for the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3, which is 6. So to get 6 x's I need to double this equation and triple this equation. So let's call this equation 1 and this equation 2. So I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 2, and the reason we're doing that, remember, is so I can get 6 x's. So if I times every term in this equation by 2, I get 6x plus 4y is equal to 16. So I've doubled every part of that equation there. So remember, we want to get 6 x's in equation 2 as well, so I'm going to multiply equation 2 by 3. So if I do that, I get 6 x's plus 15y equal to minus 6. Now, the reason why we wanted to get the same amount of each is because we can now do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do equation 1 subtract equation 2. So 6x subtract 6x is 0x. 4y subtract 15y gives us negative 11y. And 16 subtract negative 6 is 22. So now I've got a simple equation to solve. If I divide both sides by minus 11, I get that y is minus 2. So I found one of the values that works for both of these equations. So all I do now is I substitute y equals minus 2 into any of these equations. It doesn't matter which one, I'm just going to use the top one. So 3x plus 2 lots of negative 2 equals 8. So all I've done is substitute that value of negative 2 and replaced it for y in that equation. So plus 2 times negative 2 is minus 4 equals 8. Add 4 to both sides, get 3x equals 12. Divide both sides by 3 and we get x equals 4. So if I've done this correctly, the answer should be x equals 4 and y is equal to negative 2. So let's just check in the other equation, just check it works. 2 times 4 is 8. Add 5 times negative 2. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, so 8 add negative 2 is negative 2. So I've checked it and I know that I've got this one correct. So that's an example. Let's go to a second example. So again, it's the same principle. With this example, I'm going to actually make the y's the same so I can show you what happens if the signs are different. If you look at the last one, we had the same sign for x, so they're both positive 6x. So I'm going to show you a slightly different technique for if you have different signs. So I'm going to make y's the same. So let's call this equation 1 and equation 2 again. So I'm going to make the y's the same. What's the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3? What's the smallest number that 2 and 3 go into? Well, actually it's 6 again. So we're going to do equation 1 and we're going to multiply it by 3 to get 6y. It's going to be negative 6y's. So 3 times everything in equation 1 gives us 18x minus 6y equals 99. So I've multiplied everything in here by 3. I'm going to times equation 2 by 2 to get the 6y's. So 8x plus 6y equals 18. So we've now got the same amount of y's, except one's negative and one's positive. So before we had to subtract to get rid of the y's in our equation. So this time, because they're opposite signs, I can add them. So let's show you what happens when we add them. So it's 18x add 8x gives us 26x. Now when I add negative 6y to positive 6y, we get 0, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to eliminate either x's or y's. 99 add 18 is 117. Okay, so divide both sides by 26. So we get 117 divided by 26. And that gives us 4.5. So we've now worked out that our x value is 4.5, and as we always need to do, we need to find the y value that goes with that. So again, we can substitute that back into any of these equations. I'm going to put it back into equation 2 this time. So 4 times by 4.5 plus 3y is equal to 9. So 4 lots of 4.5 gives us 18, add 3y equals 9. So 3y is equal to, if I take away 18 from both sides, minus 9, divide both sides by 3 to get minus 3. So y is equal to minus 3. And again, if I put that back into our equation, we can check it. So let's just quickly do that with the other one. We use this one to generate these results, so I'll check it with the other one. So I'm going to just put those values quickly back in. 6 times by 4.5, subtract 2 lots of minus 3 and negative 3, and see what that is. So 6 times 4.5 is 24, 27. Subtract 2 lots of negative 3, so we're actually subtracting negative 6, so it's like adding 6, and that gives us 33. So we've checked that we've got that right. So in the exam I know that I've got 4 marks on that. I can guarantee some marks there. Okay, and that's it. Hope that's helped.